be property damaged. Police officer pulls you over, ask the police officer, is this a criminal case or a civil case? And if it's a criminal case, did I drive over a mailbox? Is there a dead pedestrian in the last crosswalk someplace? Where's the violation of property? And if there's no body, there's no destroyed property, then it must be a civil case. And if it is a civil case, there's got to be a contract involved. Got to be a contract. I'm sorry. Where's the contract? Is this your signature on the back of the driver's license? Yeah, well, there's the contract. You have contracted with the government to engage in commerce, and that contract requires you to follow all of their laws.
So in other words, if you really are driving without a driver's license, you're better off.
As far as I'm concerned. Which is why I do that. I don't have a driver's license. Anytime the government gives you permission, to do something, they let you know that you have permission by giving you a permit or a license. You get a concealed carry permit, you get a driver's license. Let me ask a few hypothetical questions. If you have a marriage license, what do you have permission to do now that you didn't have permission to do before? Who gave you that permission? And where did they get the authority to give you permission in the first place? Did Thomas Jefferson have a marriage license? No. George Washington, did he have a marriage license? No. So if they didn't have marriage licenses, and marriage licenses are ubiquitous today, that begs the question, where was the first marriage license issued? Where did marriage licenses start? Well, roughly 1850, just before the Civil War. We've got black people and white people living in the South. Can two white people live together and make babies? Sure, they're white. They have rights and they can do anything they want with their property. How about two black people? Can two black people live together and make babies? Well, they really had no control over where they lived. And if they had babies together, it was almost an accident. We considered it animal husbandry. Now think back to 1850. Can you have a white person and a black person? Can a white person and a black person live together and make babies in 1850? Oh my God, don't even think about it. If we allow a mixing of the races, society will crumble. Life as we know it will come to an end. Won't it? No. You have white people and black people living together, Irish and Jewish, you name the combinations, and we've got families, the children are beautiful, everybody is happy. The world's not going to come to an end. Marriage licenses, if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, were privileges given by the state for people who intend to intermarry. So a black person only had privileges. A black person had to get permission to marry the white person. But that was so we could deny you permission. No, you can't marry the white person. Marriage licenses started out based on racial bigotry. The good news, of course, is that was 150 years ago. And we've gotten rid of those nasty marriage licenses for black people, haven't we? No. Now, instead of freeing the black people, now we've enslaved the white people. You went out and you asked the government for permission. Why? Did you ask me for permission? Did you call me and say, hey, I see this guy, I really like him, I'd like to go out with him? Want your permission? Did you ask your mother for permission? If your mother said, sweetheart, I'm not really happy about the person you're with, I think that you really need to terminate that relationship, would you go back and say, well, darling, I guess we have to, end it. Mama doesn't like you? Or would you tell Mama to take you off the Christmas list? If you won't let your mother determine who you live with. Why would you ask the government for permission? We have gotten off on this tangent of just asking, that's the way we've always done it. No, it's not the way we've always done it. George Washington didn't do it that way. Thomas Jefferson didn't do it that way. And I sure as hell am not going to do it that way. I don't need the government's permission. I don't need the government's permission to get married. I don't need the government's permission to travel. I don't need the government's permission to keep and bear arms. I don't need the government's permission to keep and bear arms, period. Police officer in Illinois comes up to me and says, Mr. Bednarik, you're not allowed to carry a gun in Illinois. I'd like to have it, please. Certainly. As soon as you give me yours. You think the police officer is going to give me their gun? Probably not. And so I'm going to tell the officer, whatever logic, whatever excuse you're using to not give me your gun, I'm using the same excuse. It would be dangerous to be a police officer without a gun. It's even more dangerous to be an Illinois citizen without a gun because you got the Illinois police running around. There are two groups of people in the world. Those of us who believe that you have a right to life. You have a right to defend that life, and you have a right to use a firearm to defend that life if that's what you think is the best and most efficient way to do it. The other group of people think that guns are inherently dangerous. The only reason to buy a gun is because you're planning to commit murder or rob a bank. Or be a police officer, which these days is pretty much the same thing. Now, at this stage of the game, those two groups are having philosophical debates. As soon as it becomes more than a debate, my team wins. Because we got guns. I don't carry a gun on a regular basis anymore. I mean, the presidential campaign, the congressional campaign, it just kind of got out of the habit. But I do carry a gun. And if I am ever stopped by a police officer, you'll probably see me on the news because I will not give up my gun to anybody. I don't give a flying flip what color costume you're wearing. I don't care what badge you have. You have no authority to do that. Does a police officer... How far are we going to allow our American government to go? We've already got the Patriot Act, which eliminates the 4th and 6th Amendment. We've already got the Military Commissions Act, which George Bush declares eliminates the right of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is Latin for show me the body. If you get thrown in jail, your friends and your neighbors can file a writ of habeas corpus, and the government has to tell you which jail you're in. They got to tell us what you're accused of so we can start to, build your defense. And in many cases, we can actually get you out of jail. The Military Commissions Act eliminates the right of habeas corpus. Legally, in this country, the Secret Service can come in and take you out of your home at 2 o'clock in the morning and disappear you into the middle of the night. And we never hear from you again. Don't you think that's a little bit over the line? Doesn't that fill you with horror? And we sit here reading the newspaper at breakfast, watching the news. Oh, my Cubs won today. Oh my gosh. You're worried about the Cubs